Hello everyone, this is Exploring Dimensions for All, and today we're going to be talking about how to communicate with departed loved ones. So people in your family or friends who have passed away, who you would like to talk to and who would like to talk to you. So when someone passes away, what happens is they go through a process that is sometimes a little bit complex at first for them. They can sometimes feel a little bit confused and they need some time to get oriented. So it's best not to try to communicate with someone who has died fewer than 3 weeks ago. And then it's also a good idea to let them contact you first so that you don't disturb their process in any way. It takes a while for the different sheaths of personality to fall away and for the person to get really grounded in the new environment that they're in. And when they're really grounded, they may in fact want to talk to loved ones and clear up a few things that went on during their life, so that there aren't any resentments or worries or concerns or unfinished things. And when they want to do that, sometimes you'll feel a presence. What do I mean by a presence? Well, we all have a part of our minds, or perhaps our spirits, that can sense things. So you know how you'll be walking down the street and you'll get the feeling that someone's staring at you or that someone's walking behind you. You might not hear anything, but you get a strong sense of a presence. You also might have experienced the feeling of someone dying that you're really close to, and then kind of feeling them really nearby you, or feeling like they haven't died for a moment. And when you feel that feeling, it may actually be the person, it'll be their spirit, literally sitting next to you, or literally trying to communicate with you. So, one way that you can open up a pathway to communicate with them at that sort of a time is to clear your mind and make yourself receptive to hearing what they have to say. Well, how do you do that? Well, if you think about times when you have been trying to do something that seemed a little bit too difficult, but you knew you could wrap your mind around it if you gave yourself a chance. If you think about times like that, there's a space that occurs right before you're successful in figuring something out. And that space is the kind of space you need to be in to communicate with the dead. So let's say that I ask you right now to multiply 192 times 4, or maybe 92 times 4. Unless you're an amazing math whiz, there's going to be just a millisecond of time or a second of time where you're going to have a blank space. And in that blank space lies a part of you that's waiting for the information to come to your mind on how to do that. So if you're trying to multiply 4 times 92, for example, it might be, okay, let's see, 4 times 9 is 360, and 4 times 2 is 8, and 8, and 360 is 368. But all of that is thinking. There's that moment where you're thinking, how do I do that? And you're waiting. Kind of like if you've driven a car, but you've never driven a motorcycle. And your friend is there, and your friend is going to give you some instructions on how to ride the motorcycle. And you're on the motorcycle, and you're thinking, I know I can do this. It looks easy. I can ride a bicycle. I can drive a car. And I'm going to be able to figure this out. But like, what? What am I supposed to do? And your friend starts to give you instructions. And before you process the instructions, again, there's that space. There's that moment. Now, there might be another time or another situation where you might have a friend that says, hey, remember the time when we met that lady at the beach? Her name was Rosa, and it was back in 1996, and we were all there. We'd been playing volleyball. You can't think of anything. You have no idea what your friend's talking about. But you know that if they're talking to you about it, it's stored in your memory somewhere. So there again is that moment where you're waiting for that memory to come to you. You know you should be able to have the memory, so you're kind of searching for that. It's kind of the same feeling as right before you figure out how to do a math problem, or right before you figure out how to drive a motorcycle. So if you feel a dead one's presence near you, they may be trying to communicate with you, as I've said. So then you open up that space right before you know how to do something. And you say to them, audibly or telepathically, I'm here and I'm ready to communicate with you. Make sure you have a pen and a piece of paper and start writing down any information that flows through you. Some of what you write down may be thoughts. Some of it, what you write down, you may be slightly unsure of, and some of it will probably feel very clear, like it's just coming in like water. Write all of it down. At the end of the communication, your loved one might say, okay, well, that's all I wanted to communicate. They might have talked about the fact that they're doing okay, what's going on for them in the place that they've passed into. They might want you to communicate something to your sister or your mother or your aunt that they don't think they're going to be able to communicate to, just to clear something up with that person. Usually it's to reassure your loved ones that usually what they're trying to do is reassure their loved ones that they're okay. And sometimes they do it by bringing up specific information that you don't know, but only their loved one would know. Or they might even bring up something that you haven't thought about in a really long time, like a memory, and it was a moment that you shared only with them. So sometimes they'll do something to make sure that it's clear that you're communicating with them. Or you might get words that come in, and it's only the way that that person would talk. It's the way that that person frames their sentences and expresses themselves. You're probably not going to hear an audible voice, although you could. It's probably going to come in like a stream of thoughts. When you're done with the communication, you can say goodbye and, take care and I love you, whatever feels right. And then give yourself a moment or two. Take a deep breath. Then go back over what you've written. Some of what you've written will feel exactly right. It'll feel like, okay, yes, this was coming through my loved one. This is clear communication. Circle that stuff. Some of it might feel a little bit off. It probably feels off because you might have been trying to insert your own thoughts to make sense of information that came through. Your mind might have strayed a little bit, and you might have started to think. Put a question mark and maybe some lines around that. That may or may not have been a communication from your loved one. Keep going down the page, and again, if anything feels really, really right to you, underline it. It's probably real. It's probably a communication from your loved one. So, from everything I know and understand, from my personal experience and reading and listening to things, the idea that I have, or that I've been given, is that it's better for you to wait until a loved one makes their presence known in some way, through a smell, through a sense of presence, or something like that. At that point, it's a great idea to try and open up a channel to communicate with them. If they don't make their presence felt, it's probably best not to communicate with them because they may still be going through the after-death process. Also, if you're really grieving and you're really sad and you're really upset and you try to communicate with them in that sort of a needy way, it may really kind of hamper their progress because they may feel like they need to come and talk to you, and they may or may not be able to get through because you might have some unconscious blocks because you're so sad and there's so much emotion there. I mean, there's a wide variety of circumstances out there, and I don't know what an individual person may feel and what may be right for you or your deceased loved one or not. But in general, I think it's a better idea to wait until you feel their presence rather than reaching out to them. So that's all I have to say on this matter. I probably will later produce a video on contacting ghosts. I wouldn't contact them without a different set of skills. Rather, like if you feel a ghost-like presence, that's kind of a different skill set. It's not that you can't talk to them. It's just that it's nice to be prepared in a different way. So I may produce a video like that in the future. Again, if you like the video, please like it, please subscribe, please let your friends know about it. I'm trying to grow my channel. And have a lot of fun and enjoy yourself. Okay, take care.